Hello, and welcome to On the Turf, hosted by three guys who have never been on the turf. My name is Arjun and Rohan.
I'm Rohan Patel.
And we were gone last week. We weren't able to do the show, but we're back for Week 9 of the NFL season. And we got not one, but two New York Giants fans here with us today. We want to welcome A.J. and Corey to the show. We're going to do a little bit of a post-mortem on the Giants season. Maybe it's not over yet. And maybe it's not over yet. I don't know. We'll see.
Post-mortem is crazy.
But let's get right into it. All right, so the Giants are sitting at, 2-5 right now. They had negative passing yards against the Jets last week. Tommy DeVito, straight out of Goodfellas, came in, didn't do anything. But what do you guys think? As Giants fans, before we get into all the Week 9 stuff, what do you think of your team heading into the second half of the season, sitting at 2-5, but have a kind of a good game coming up this weekend against the Raiders?
AJ, do you want to start or?
Sure, yeah. I could just start by introducing myself and then get right into my opinion. I'm AJ. I've been a lifelong Giants fan. I remember when we won our 2 Super Bowls in my lifetime when Eli Manning bitched around everybody's GOAT. Those are 2 of the greatest memories of my childhood and 2 greatest nights of my life as a sports fan. Let me just get into this, right? First things first, Graham Ganoa's got to go. We'll sign destroying it if that's who it takes.
Graham Gano is the issue here?
Graham Gano is the issue. Hear me out. He's missed too much in the last 2 seasons to legitimately be considered a number 1 option at kicker. At this point, he's made too many unforced errors and missed too many bunnies that this guy might need to be out the league. That aside, I don't know what the issue with this team is.
I can talk about this.
Let's get into what the prognosis
is. Let me introduce myself. Okay, my name's Corey. I know Rohan through mock trial, of course, and I'm also a lifelong Giants fan. Been in this my entire life. Similar to AJ, 2 of my favorite memories watching Eli Manning bitch around Tom Brady in the Super Bowl 2 times, not just once, twice for 2 rings. Eli Manning, top 5 playoff quarterback all time, but that's a take for another time.
All time?
Okay, I agree with that.
Okay, now, here's the problem with this damn Giants team. Well, first off, let's put it out the air. The Giants had the hardest schedule in the league. By far. I don't think there's anybody with a tougher schedule in the league than the New York Football Giants. How many primetime games have you seen the Giants play this year?
Too many.
An unfortunate amount.
Too many.
Exactly. We are a 1 p.m. team, and I'm okay with that.
We're a London game team. We're a Frankfurt team.
There's nothing wrong with that. But if you really think about it, that Bills game, we should have won that game.
Robbery.
Jets game, we have no excuse to lose that game. Those are 2 games that we should have in the win column instead of the loss column. Realistically, the Giants could very easily be sitting at 4-3 right now. The conversation would have shifted completely, and the Giants would be vying for the last wild card spot in the NFC. That is a very real possibility. But it still is. If you look now, the rest of the Giants schedule gets a lot easier from here on out. We haven't even faced the Commanders once yet this year. You know how easy of a win the Commanders is for Daniel Jones? You would take the Commanders, who just sold Montez Sweat and Chase Young for pennies.
Hey, Sam Howell's a dog, man.
Sam Howell might be better than Daniel Jones. I think he is.
Deontay Banks, we actually saw the Commanders and the Giants play once. Sam Howell is not better than Daniel Jones. Sam Howell got dogged on all game.
Sam Howell is Heineke Part 2 for all the Commanders football team hopefuls. Anybody who agrees with what this team is called in the first place, you got another thing coming. But if you think that this guy is franchised, capital F, I've got to tell you, I need to burst your bubble. I have bubbles to burst all around the league because there's so many guys here.
Well, let's not get crazy and call Daniel Jones franchise either.
Yeah, let's talk about Daniel Jones. What's your guys' evaluation of the quarterback situation this year?
Look, aside from this guy's neck and aside from the fact that he doesn't look like he's actually friends with anyone on the team, and besides the fact that he doesn't really appear like a leader of men, there's no denying that this guy has natural God-given talents that go above and beyond what any white quarterback in the NFL should be capable.
What does that mean? What does that mean? He can run? He can run a little bit? Is that what
23 miles per hour. He had over 100 He had over 150 yards in the air and over 75 rushing yards in his last playoff victory. The last guy to do that was
his only playoff victory.
Who was it?
Was that dog like Pete? Wait. I was about to do 42 Doug's verse from, what's it called? We Paid. Because he gave a shout out to who? Michael Vick.
Exactly. Vanilla Vick.
Like a dog joke, AJ.
Okay. My serious take on Daniel Jones. Now, this is a crazy take. I think Daniel Jones is easily a top 15 quarterback in the league. I really have
Corey,
him placed
said
at
top
12
off camera.
Yeah, you said top 12 3 minutes ago.
You said top 12 when we were in that room with you.
Me though, I have him placed at number 12. I have him placed at 12 in the league. I can name, of course, 11 guys better than Daniel Jones, but I can't name 15 guys better than Daniel Jones.
Okay,
and now
so
here's the thing. Daniel Jones has had a really rough season this year. I will say that. Very rough season. But when you look at what the Giants have been going through on the offensive line, what help has he had? The offensive line has been non-existent through the first half of the season.
And I don't think it's just a question of talent. I think it's a question of morale, even though the talent is piss poor at the moment. Mm-hmm. Evan Neal cannot block another human being to protect Daniel Jones from getting sacked to save his goddamn life.
Evan Neal is not a right tackle. He is too big to play tackle. He is a right guard.
He should be wearing the Transformers costume that they make those really tall guys wear at theme parks. That's what his job is. His job is Optimus Prime. His job is to entertain little kids because that's what his job is in reality.
I'm not going to lie. After this season, if I don't see Evan Neal turn it around for the second half, I'm done with him. I'm ready to send him off to McDonald's. He's
pretty bad.
I can't believe we spent the 7th pick on a guy who does not believe that he owes it to the fans to take constructive criticism. His attitude problem goes far beyond just what the Giants are experiencing in the win-loss column, and he needs a real attitude transplant and a total readjustment of his personality because this is the most crucial position in the modern NFL outside of quarterback because you're protecting the quarterback. And this guy can't seem to find the internal will to save Daniel Jones from getting his fucking spine broken.
There's a reason he has a persistent neck injury. It's because he hasn't had blocking his entire career. Besides Andrew Thomas, who's been out with injury the entire season, essentially, there is nothing on the Giants' offensive line. And that's the true problem. Wait. Here is the true kicker. The Giants' offensive line coach, who shall not be named, that terrorist shall not be named, but the true kicker is that man has been here since the Dave Gettleman organization. Since the terrorism of Dave Gettleman. We are still feeling the pain of Dave Gettleman on this team. I don't think you understand how serious this is.
A ghost in the machine.
Bobby Johnson is a terrorist. He has to go. He has blown up our offensive line so many times. He can't coach a line to save his life. He legitimately, it's time for him to go. And honestly, I might be over Mike Kafka too. The offensive coordinator, Mike Kafka, it might be time for him to go.
What are we looking at in terms of production, in terms of Daniel Jones' weapons, too? We've got Darren Waller. We've got Jalen Hyatt, one of the most exciting electric rookie receivers.
Who doesn't get minutes.
They don't feed him the ball. What are we talking about? Sterling Shepard, who's torn every CL?
He doesn't even get minutes.
Every letter of the alphabet that you can think about. Every CL, the XCL. He's probably torn his FCL, if you can think about it.
At least 2
times.
He
still doesn't even get his minutes.
Isaiah Hodgins was phenomenal last season. Doesn't get PT.
Our only go-to red zone guy. Doesn't get minutes. We're literally running out there. Darius Slayton, Paris Campbell, 2 tight ends, seeing what goes on. And you know what's crazy? We don't even really throw the ball. Guess what we're doing on second down plays? Halfback dive right up the middle. Every single time. If there's one thing Mike Kafka's going to do, he's going to call a damn halfback dive.
Well, you got Saquon. That's what you got to do, right? I mean, he's your only real offensive weapon.
You don't get... Why are we just getting Saquon the ball on halfback dives? Saquon is so much more versatile of a running back than that. He's not Derrick Henry. And he's also at the point in his career where he's not really a between-the-tackles runner. He's a runner that you want to make big plays. You want him to get outside. You want to get him the ball out of the backfield. Get him into open space. He doesn't have the stability in his legs physically anymore because of injury to make those runs through tackle. And honestly... as much as I hate to say it, I might be done with Saquon.
Whoa,
I might be done with that
What
toy.
did Saquon do to you?
Nothing. Saquon's great. I want Saquon to go win a championship on another team. Because it's not going to happen here. We're not ready to utilize his talents. We don't deserve him.
Respectfully, that's why we had to make these deadline moves the way that we did. And I don't think we're going to pay him because I think the front office feels the same way that we do.
But the main problem with that is, then we just paid him this contract.
So moving forward, where do you guys go from here? I mean, is this season lost? Is this team have any hope to make a playoff run? Are you looking towards a draft already and tanking to get a pick?
Are you looking to get a quarterback in the draft?
It's a heavy quarterback class.
Here's really where I see this season. Do you remember that 49ers season where they played terribly, got Nick Bosa in the draft, and the next season they were playoff contenders again? That is the kind of season this will be for the Giants. Super Bowl contenders, yes. That is the kind of season this will be for the Giants. Mainly because there's some really good foundations emerging right now. The Giants' defense is emerging as one of the elite defenses in the league. Our interior defensive line, Sexy Dexy, is a phenomenal defensive tackle. He's arguably the number 2 best tackle in the league right now.
All pro.
Right behind Aaron Donald. You know how many pressures he had last week alone? That is a blasphemous number. But that is really good. Our defensive line is really emerging. Kayvon's starting to burst onto the scene. We love to see that. I really want to go out and get one more piece on the line in the offseason. I'm really looking to get Josh Allen or even trade for Brian Burns. I love Brian Burns. But those are 2 guys that I really, really would like to see paired with Kayvon Thibodeau. Now, when you look up to the next level of the defense, the linebacking core, Micah McFadden might be White Boy of the Year. He's emerged. He's emerging as White Boy of the Year rookie.
I don't know who he is, honestly.
I can't put him ahead of my ginger brother Max Crosby, but
okay, there you go. Yeah. Max Crosby is elite, but Micah McFadden, I think his average PFF score this year has been an 87.9. That's pretty sick, if you ask me. Now, Bobby Okereke, greatest signing Joe Shane has ever made. Phenomenal player, phenomenal linebacker. We knew this coming in. He's been phenomenal for the Giants consistently. Might be All-Pro this year. I'm not going to lie. He might make All-Pro. Now, secondary-wise, Cordell Flott has been a beautiful surprise for the Giants. Beautiful surprise. Why don't you know these players? Average PFF score of 87.9 on the season. Deonte Banks are closed on Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. He's been phenomenal this year.
Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Defensive Rookie of the Year.
We're going to talk
easily
about that
in my
later.
book. Yeah, but that defense has a lot of talent there. Now, the offense is the problem, but they can get it together. I believe them. And I think Daniel Jones can be the one to do it.
I believe Daves and Daniel Jones will get this one together because them two are like this.
They are. And Daves is an elite head coach. We can't let that agenda change. Daves is not a bust. He's an elite head coach who's been put in bad circumstances this season. And, that's my take on the Giants.
We'll see what plays out. Me personally, I'm looking at their schedule. I'm calling we'll say they get one.
Maybe 4 more wins. I could see 4 more wins.
I was going to say 2.
Yeah. If I'm being optimistic, I could see 4.
2 to 4 wins.
You always have to keep in mind, though, interdivisional games in the NFC East are always wild.
It's always a toss-up.
So it's literally,
I saw a wild one to start off the year.
40-0.
Yeah, that was wild.
I'm not gonna lie, that was a Cowboys defensive masterclass. I have no other words to say.
I had the Cowboys defense that week in fantasy. They put up 45 points.
It was a defensive masterclass. Dak Prescott didn't do shit. Dak Prescott isn't shit. I will continue to say this.
Okay.
Dak Oikos Prescott is a garbage quarterback. He is not good at the game of football. He's okay.
We're going to use that to segue because we're going to go on to talk about some of these Week 9 games, some of the big ones. I know this is going out of order, but since we're on the topic of the NFC East, we have a big NFC East matchup coming up between your 2 rivals, Cowboys, Eagles. First time this year they're going to meet. I'm assuming it's going to have pretty big implications for not only the division, but for the conference as well. So, what are we looking at here? The Eagles, I think, are arguably the top team in the NFL right now. They look consistent. One rough loss, but I don't think it's any cause for concern. I'm looking ahead at this Cowboys game. I personally think that they are able to outplay the Cowboys at just about every level. Their defense is playing better. Their defensive line is still the most elite in the entire NFL. Hurts and A.J. Brown are looking extremely dangerous now. A.J. Brown's operating at a completely different level. I don't think this Cowboys team can stop him. Because of that, I'm going with the Eagles here.
Philly's favored by 3.
Philly's favored by 3. I'll take him. I'll take him by more than that. I think they win by at least a touchdown. We'll call it 27-20 Eagles. Especially a home game. At the link, I don't see how Philly drops this one.
You guys want to
go? Yeah, I really like that take, Rohan. I think that the Cowboys simply don't have the firepower to compete with the Eagles right now. To me, Eagles are the number 2 team in the league, right behind the 49ers. I think the Eagles are definitely elite. The Eagles' D-line is definitely elite. Their offensive line is, of course, perennially great. A.J. Brown is unreal. That guy is unreal. And then Devontae Smith being your 2 is just disgusting. The one weakness on that team, I will say, is the Eagles secondary, who are kind of old, and they've been getting exposed a bit this year. But I don't think the Cowboys have the firepower at receiver to do that. And Dak Prescott doesn't make big-time plays or big-time throws. He just doesn't. Mike McCarthy is also ass. And he's their play caller. So I really think Eagles. I'm going to predict Eagles 35, Cowboys 21.
Oh, I love to hear that. I agree with that.
I'll second Corey's take. I think the Eagles are going to run away with it a little bit more than people are accounting for. I think also in terms of their depth, as far as receiver, it goes beyond just Devontae Smith. The Julio Jones acquisition, he was looking phenomenal. All of his routes were looking really technical. He might have lost a little bit of an edge on speed, but that offense is looking a little bit unstoppable. And some of the trickery that they're able to pull with the brotherly shove. And running the ball around this time into the left with that little hesitation look. It's looking really scary. I don't know how you stop this team on a 3rd and short, 4th and short. It's looking like the Eagles are really rolling at this time of the year. And honestly, the Cowboys are coming off a fantastic week last week against the Lions. Of course, CeeDee Lamb having a career game, but I just don't see that sustaining week to week. I think Dak Prescott's a little bit in over his head. And we saw some moments against the Lions last week where he was faltering, had some unforced errors that were really unseemly that allowed the Lions to get back into a game they should have had no business being in. So I'm not sold on the
You're talking about the Rams,
Cowboys. Right? I'm not sold. I'm not high on them, and I'm not sold on them going into next week.
Okay, so I'll give my pick. I think I agree with you guys. I think the Eagles are going to win this game. I think the Cowboys remind me a lot of the Buffalo Bills. They're the NFC Bills for me. They're the kind of team that can absolutely smash a really mediocre to bad teams in this league and can blow them out with, defensive turnovers, special teams play. For sure. But when the defense faces a capable offense, in the case of the Eagles, a more than capable offense, one of the best offenses in the league, they're not able to do as much. Micah Parsons isn't able to just pin his ears back and rush the passer. This Eagles team is going to be able to run the ball all game, control the clock. We know the recipe for this Eagles team. They've been doing it for the past 2 years. They're going to continue to do it here. It's at Philadelphia, too. I think that crowd's going to be absolutely roaring, too. So I'm going to take the Eagles. I think I agree. I think it's going to be a fairly close game throughout, but I think the Eagles pull away in the fourth quarter. I'll say 30-24 Eagles win, and they continue to be the number 1 team in the league. But while we're on the topic of Week 9, let's pivot to some other Week 9 games. We've got a lot of games between contenders this week, and none more in Frankfurt between the Dolphins at the Chiefs. Not really for either of these teams. Neither of them really have a home field advantage there in Germany, but we know this Miami Dolphins offense is high-flying. They got Tyreek Hill. It's his first game facing his old team in the Kansas City Chiefs, and we saw the Chiefs last week lose to the Broncos. Did not expect that to happen. Big upset victory for Sean Payton's guys, but Kansas City is still favored by 1.5 here. I expect Mahomes to bounce back. I think they're going to figure out this offense eventually. There's a lot of youth on this team, but I expect Kelsey to have a big game. I expect these two teams to stay in contention the whole time. I think the X factor here is Jalen Ramsey's return, though. And I think we'll see if he's able to bottle up that Chiefs offense. But Patrick Mahomes is going to get it done. I'm going to trust him and Andy Reid in virtually every game. I say the Chiefs win this 24-20, and then defense gets back on track.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is a tough one to call for me. I'm particularly inclined to the Dolphins, but yeah, I think the Dolphins, I think, are that type of team that I don't know if they can beat the upper echelon of contenders yet. And when we saw it against the Bills, I don't even know if you call them a contender. You saw it against the Eagles, and now you get the Chiefs again, Super Bowl champs. I think the Chiefs are pissed. I think that last game was an aberration that you're not going to see much of in the future. Mahomes hasn't looked his best this year, but I mean, we saw that, I think, last year as well, and then he turns it up at some point. I think this is one of those games for him. He gets a weak secondary. Jalen Ramsey's going to be back, but, I mean, I don't know who's stopping Travis Kelce. I mean, that's the main thing you got to worry about in this game. The Miami Dolphins defense entirely is their weakness. So I think the Dolphins are going to get better defensively as Jalen Ramsey gets better and he gets back in the game more. But at least for this week, I think it's the Mahomes and Kelce show. The defense, I think it'll be high scoring, actually. I think the defense, I think Miami can put up a lot of points still. But I think the Chiefs come out with this one. They'll get a few stops from Tua, who has also been particularly averse to some interceptions throughout the year. So I'll call it Chiefs 33-30, and the German fans will understand why football is better than football.
Okay. Now me, I take kind of the opposite stance. You know, I think that this Kansas City Chiefs team has finally hit a rut. I think they're starting to realize the fault in not signing offensive weapons. When you really look at that team, besides Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, what else is there offensively? Now, I concede Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes will beat the majority of teams by themselves. However, I just don't think they have enough firepower to outscore the Dolphins. I think both defenses in this game are going to be shit. I don't think this is a defensive game at all. I think this is completely an offensive game. But when I think about who has potential to score the most points, I just have to favor Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. That is such an elite wide receiver duo coming out the backfield, or not coming out the backfield, but such an elite wide receiver duo that Mike McDaniel has out there. It's just so many fast guys that are just great in open space, and Mike McDaniel, being a remnant of the Shanahan system, knows how to scheme them open. And all Tua has to do is hit his throws. The Dolphins' offensive line has been good enough. The Dolphins' receivers, of course, have been crazy good. Tyreek Hill is on track to be, like, MVP right now. I would say he's my dark horse MVP take, just based on, like, how insane of a season he's having. Of course, the MVP is a quarterback award, but Tyreek Hill is a guaranteed offensive player of the year in my eyes. I'm gonna end up going Dolphins 38, Chiefs 35. Overtime game in Frankfurt.
Overtime.
As much as I would love to see overtime in the Allianz Arena, it will definitely be a hard-fought game. I'm expecting a lot of deep kind of completions on second down, third down. I don't see teams really trying to get the ground game going. There was the other game in England last week where the fans came out and ended up actually watching a football game due to how much the ball got kicked around and how many field goals were made. I think it was 6 in the last game that was played in Europe by just one team, which set some kind of record for a game played abroad.
Probably the Falcons.
I'm expecting a game where there's a lot of in the air kind of play. To me, the X factor is a guy like Isaiah Pacheco and a guy like Raheem Mostert. These guys who are going to get the game going on the ground, who are going to pick up yardage on a first down or second down and get you up the field and just move the chains. I think those guys are going to be extremely important into making sure that both teams can stay on the field and also eventually get off it. I'm saying the Dolphins are going to run away with this one just because I like what I'm seeing out of their offense more. I don't think it's going to be particularly close towards the end, but I think they're going to fight hard up until about the third quarter, and then the Dolphins will do what they do to close out games this season. I'm saying 34 maybe to 18, 20.
Wow, okay. I mean, it'll be an interesting game for sure. I mean, I think the one big thing about the Chiefs is that their defense has still been has been one of the big surprises, I think. I think up till last week, they were the second best pass defense in the league. And they didn't particularly have a bad game against the Broncos. It was more so their offense sputtered.
5 turnovers from the Chiefs offense last week.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see whether or not that defense still has it against the best passing offense in the league now. But moving on to our last game, I don't know how to intro this. This is not.
Yeah, I mean, we have.
We wanted this game last year.
We wanted this game last year. We didn't. Well, we had this game in the playoffs last year, but the Buffalo Bills are heading to Cincinnati to face off against the Bengals. This is going to be This is one of my most highly anticipated matchups of the year. Obviously, last year we had the DeMar Hamlin situation, and we weren't able to see this full game in Cincinnati. This is two teams, I think, on two different paths here. Buffalo has lost a ton of players, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Mm-hmm. Arguably their top three players to injury and lost for the season. Meanwhile, Joe Burrow and the Bengals, at this point it's inevitable. They're getting hot. Second half of the season, it seems Joe Burrow last week was AFC Offensive Player of the Week against the 49ers, 28 for 32, 3 touchdowns, nearly 300 yards. Cincinnati's favored by 2. They're at home. Joe Burrow's hot right now. I think Joe Burrow might be playing the best of any quarterback in the league, and I think we're going to be seeing that for the next 2 months as we head into the playoffs.
Crazy take.
I think this team is – I think they're – I mean, I picked them to go to the Super Bowl. This is the team I figured would show up. They have a really great pass rush with Trey Hendrickson. Obviously, the offense is super dynamic. Jamar Chase is getting hot. T. Higgins is being worked back in. The running game's getting going again. Coaching, Zach Taylor's not my favorite coach in the league. But I think Buffalo, the problem is too many defensive injuries. Josh Allen has been playing really good to his credit, but I think they're still a little too Josh Allen dependent. This has been my problem with this team for the past 3 years. They haven't been able to get a running game going. They'll beat up on bad to mediocre teams, like I said, with Dallas, but once they face a top-flight contender like Cincinnati, I think they're going to lose here. So I think Burrow gets it done. I'll say the Bengals win 28-24, and the Bengals keep it moving as they head maybe back to the AFC Championship again. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to make the same mistake again. Usually I'm a Bills fan, Bengals hater, but I'm not doing I've been burned by this too many times. I've been burned by this Macaulay Culkin lookalike too many times. I'm going with the Bengals here. I mean, for everything Arjun said, they look better. Their defense is playing better. Their defense looks like the defense that carried them last year to the AFC Championship. Was it? Yeah, AFC Championship.
Yeah.
Burrow looks great. Him and Jamar are back on track. These are the types of games that I fear the Bills are going to be losing throughout this back half of the year for them. These are the types of games that they're going to have a lot of this back half of the year as they play the Eagles, the Cowboys, a lot of other contenders. And if they're dropping those games, I worry about their playoff hopes. On the other hand, Bengals look really good. I can confidently say that they're back. I think they take this one. It's going to be like last year's playoff game. Not particularly close. I don't think it's going to really feel like this is ever going to be in doubt. I think the Bengals win this one. We'll call it 30-20.
I can't help but agree. I think that the Bills are a really inconsistent team with a really inconsistent quarterback in Josh Allen, who makes a lot of stupid mistakes trying to be a hero, which is not necessarily his fault, because that is indeed what they're asking him to do. They're asking him to go out there and do it all himself. As you can still see, they still haven't gotten him any help outside of Stephon Diggs, and now Stephon Diggs is phenomenal. Stephon Diggs is great, but the true absence of any sort of running game and having Josh Allen pass the ball 40, 50 times a game, it's just he's bound to make some of those mistakes that he makes. I'm really mad at the Bills for not going out and trying to trade for one of these elite running backs at the deadline. You got Josh Jacobs. Could have traded for Josh Jacobs. Could have even probably found a deal for Saquon somewhere in there to get some elite running back help to help out Josh Allen in this offense. Additionally, the Bills defense, as you said, it's losing its stars. People keep going down. They're going to continue to get worse. They're going to continue to regress as the year goes on. I know you still got your pieces like Matt Milano, but missing Tre'Davious White in that secondary is huge, especially when there really is nobody else outside of that in that secondary that's of note. Besides like Jordan Poyer and the other safety. But, other than that, I feel like the Bengals kind of take this game easily. I feel like, of course, the Bengals are a second half of the year team, as we've seen year in and year out. They get hot when the time is right. That's how they made that Super Bowl run, even though they shouldn't have, getting hot when the time was right. Joe Burrow is playing like a top 5 quarterback in the league. And I think right now, I'm going to say Bengals 28, Bills 14. Game never really is close.
I like that prediction. I agree. I think the Bengals are going to find their stride in these next few games, especially during teams like this. Joe Burrow perennially seems to be a guy who's built for big games. He's always shown up for the occasion, especially in front of his home crowd. I think it's going to be rocking in that building because those fans have been waiting so long for their team to be good, and it felt like maybe for a moment in the beginning of the season, things looked a little bit too good to be true, even though they got a couple really solid years of production out of their guys. But I did see those narratives circulating, so I'm really happy that team is looking how they're supposed to look at this point in their process and as they build up this franchise, hopefully to be great for the next decade or so with all the talent that they have, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I think it's going to be, again, not really close, but I don't know that it's going to be quite so high scoring. I'm going to go 24-10, the Bengals. I think there will probably be some action in the first half. We might go in to start the third quarter tie game, but then I think the Bengals are really going to find it. They're a second half of the schedule type of team, and they're going to start to turn it up as they make their campaign to Las Vegas this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have really shifted because I feel like we were really on the Bills earlier this season. A lot of us, we were charmed by Camille and all those Bills fans, but
Yeah.
seems not anymore. But we'll see. I think if the Bills can win this, if they're able to pull off the upset here, the forecast for their entire season changes here. But on the talk of all these star quarterbacks and all that, we're at midseason. So let's talk midseason awards and our predictions for where the awards are going at this half of the season. Rohan and I have a lot of takes, but we'd love to hear from AJ and Corey. So let's kick it off with the big one, MVP. So, who do you guys think should be or will be the MVP by the end of the season, based on what 9 or 8 games or 8 weeks of the season that we've seen so far?
My MVP take this year. I wouldn't even say this is a crazy take. It's Lamar Jackson.
Thank you.
Lamar Action Jackson has continually been elite game in, game out. He is truly the most valuable player on that team. That team would not be where they are without him. I think Lamar Jackson and the Ravens have a very good shot to go all the way this year. I think they're a very underrated team. I could definitely see them hitting the Super Bowl this season. And some of the stuff that Lamar Jackson is just doing out here is insane. And it just doesn't get the coverage it deserves. If Mahomes was making the throws that Lamar has been making these past few games, that's all you would see. But, Lamar's not getting the coverage he deserves. He definitely, in my opinion, is the MVP for this season. I could also see it, of course, going, back to Patrick Mahomes when he turns it up at some point. Joe Burrow's obviously an option, but I really my heart lies with Lamar Jackson for this season.
I love this agenda. I really love this agenda.
Hey, I'm just saying, wait for Lamar to play in a big game in the playoffs. He's gonna shrink because he always shrinks in the playoffs.
Why do you hate Lamar Jackson?
This is the regular season.
I'm just saying, Lamar is great.
The regular season.
He's been good this year. If I was picking MVP right now through 8 games, I'd pick Lamar. I'm just saying, if we're saying the Ravens are going to get to the Super Bowl, let's slow a roll a little bit.
I don't.
He shrinks in the playoffs. He put 3 points up against the Bills a couple years ago.
But when you look at this Ravens team, it's not just Lamar anymore. That's the thing. In every other past Ravens playoff performance of recent time, it's really just been Lamar trying to operate on his own and by himself. When you look at it now, that defense is actually elite now. With Roquan Smith leading the charge, that defense is elite. That was one of the best trades of last year to go out and get Roquan Smith. I was actually so disappointed when my Giants didn't go out and get Roquan Smith because I just know how good
you guys
of a
got
player
Bobby
he is.
Okereke.
Roquan Smith would have solved all your issues, I'm sure.
I think for me, if you had asked me before last Sunday who I would have picked for MVP, I would have given you a very controversial take. And depending how the rest of their season panned out, I would have said Kirk Cousins. If you look at how he was turning that ship in light of losing, I think on anyone's fantasy draft board, the number one overall.
He was my number one.
Justin Jefferson, the loss of a guy like that, and then to make Jordan Addison in his place, another first-year guy, look incredible, I thought was a testament to how incredible Kirk Cousins has been year in, year out, and how he's a guy who's never really gotten a shout for an MVP award, but he was single-handedly keeping the Vikings in contention for a playoff spot, and a good one at that. And even though the defense couldn't keep him on the field, he still found a way to win games. And the games that he lost at the beginning of the season just went the other way as how they did last season. So many of those games that they won when they went 12-5 were within one score. So it was just an unlucky break of the ball. Now that he's injured and I know that he doesn't have a shot at it, I'm tempted to say someone like Jalen Hurts, just because of how consistent he's been, or someone like Tua, just because I think Tua's errors in the games that he's lost hasn't been down to his errors, whereas for the Eagles and with Jalen Hurts, I think that's the case. So I'd say maybe my number 2 pick, if it's not Kirk Cousins, which it can't be now, unfortunately, because the guy was balling, I'll say Tua, and then I'll give you a dark horse, Christian McCaffrey.
I like the McCaffrey.
That's not a crazy take.
McCaffrey would be good if the Niners stopped losing at some point. That'd be nice. But no, I like the McCaffrey take, but unfortunately I think this is a quarterback award. I'm agreeing with Corey here. I told you guys this was gonna happen. I told him in May.
You say it every year.
I told him in May the Ravens are making the Super Bowl. And Lamar's gonna look so good. Lamar's gonna be back to MVP form, and he is. He's doing that. You all dogged on his passing. He can pass. Stop with this.
I never said you couldn't pass.
Yes, you did.
I never said you couldn't pass.
You say that all the time.
I never said you couldn't pass. I just said
we're seeing him truly become more of a passer. This year, he's been truly more of a passer than a runner.
Exactly.
And it's been beautiful to see.
Wide receiver one is Zay Flowers, bro. It's Zay Flowers, and he's still putting up incredible numbers.
Zay Flowers is good.
I mean, he's good, but he's not like.
Okay.
He's not a wide receiver one yet. Anyways, I'm picking Lamar here. Still elite. Still the best dual threat quarterback in the league.
As a Steelers fan, I hate to say it, right now I would pick Lamar through 8 games of the season, but keep your eye on Joe Burrow. Keep your eye on him. If the Bengals continue to win games and he continues to play like he's been playing the past 3 weeks, keep your eye on Joe Burrow. Right now, I think I'm looking at the odds. He's like 7th in odds right now. That's a good bet. That's a good bet. But let's move to Offensive Player of the Year. Bunch of great receivers this year who are really showing out, and we also got Christian McCaffrey, of course. I'll go really quickly. I'm not sure if anyone. I'll say A.J. Brown. He's been absolutely astounding through first 8 games of the season. I think he's going to keep it up. Seems after those first couple games, he said, "Give me the ball, Jalen Hurts." Jalen Hurts has been doing that, and they've been winning games in spectacular fashion because of that. So I think Tyreek's been playing really good, but I think Jalen Waddle's going to continue to make a presence in that offense. A.J. Brown's clear and the unquestionable number 1 in that offense. Arguably an MVP contender as well. I'll say A.J. Brown for me.
I like that pick. I think A.J. Brown's really good. I think he's been playing well. But the reality is that Tyreek Hill's on pace for 2,000 yards, which no one's done since who? Since what?
Calvin
Johnson. Calvin Johnson, right? I mean, no one's done that in almost a decade or more than a decade. So if he hits that, I think it's very, very hard to not give him Offensive Player of the Year. I think he will hit that. I think it has to go to Tyreek this year.
Yeah, I can't help but agree with you, Rohan. As much as I love Christian McCaffrey, as much as I love A.J. Brown, that award is already Tyreek Hill's in my mind. 1,000 receiving yards by week 8 in the league is insane. It's absolutely insane. And the trajectory is that he's going to continue to go up. So I can only give that award to Tyreek Hill at this point.
I need to agree with Corey and Rohan. I think Tyreek Hill it's his award to lose at this point. His production and the way that it's contributed to winning, I think watching some of the Eagles games, there's moments where on his routes and when he's turning in to make his posts and he's ducking in to make his slants, A.J. Brown's not doing everything you want him to do to make sure that he comes down with the ball. I haven't seen moments like that from Tyreek. His wide receiver play has been utterly flawless. He has been unreal.
It was to the point where I remember he was tweeting out as if he had a bad game. When I think he went for like 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he was tweeting out to the fans, "I'm sorry, guys, I let you guys down today." I was like, man, you're good. 120 yards and 2 touchdowns is insane in one. Just insane production from Tyreek Hill.
George Pickens would do that if he had an actual quarterback, but that's besides the point.
True, we'll get him
That's
one.
besides the point.
Eventually.
That is some Steelers propaganda.
Dude, George Pickens is going to be a top 10 receiver.
Steelers propaganda if I ever heard
He said George Pickens would be a top 5 receiver by the end of the year.
I said top 10. I said top 10.
Fine, top 10.
Give him a real quarterback.
I can see that.
Give him an offensive coordinator that doesn't, hold back our offense actively.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Football terrorist Matt Canada.
Honestly, add him to the list with Dave Gettleman.
Matt Canada is a football terrorist. He might be offensive coordinator Satan.
He personally terrorizes my mental health on a weekly basis. I don't want to see any more jet sweeps. But let's move to Defensive Player of the Year. Speaking of the Steelers, this is an easy one for me. T.J. Watt. If I was picking MVP, the fact that this man has willed the Steelers to 4 wins right now is...
Overrated.
Are we really calling T.J. Watt overrated right now? That's crazy. But
it's just a product of...
No. He's had a good season.
The man's the MVP. The man has single-handed... I've never seen a defensive player take over the game like T.J. Watt has, at least in modern NFL history.
What about his brother?
I guess, yeah. It runs in the family,
his brother's peak was so much better than his. Okay,
yeah,
I guess.
Tomlin and Watt are going to get us to 9-10 wins.
I know for me...
Because of him, Defensive Player of the Year.
Wait, I can't hear it.
Yeah, I mean, Watt's fine. Watt's good. He's.
Can you give him a little bit more respect,
okay,
please?
No, I'm kidding.
Come on now. Let's not disrespect him like this.
No, T.J. Watt's great. T.J. Watt's fantastic. Could it be perhaps a product of playing across, a very other good edge rusher in Alex Highsmith? Perhaps. I'm not going to discredit him. I think he's elite. I think he's more than elite.
Terrible argument.
But who's more elite is Myles Garrett, and especially this year. I mean, go back to 2 weeks ago. That Colts game was, I think, the best performance from a defensive player we've seen in a singular game, maybe in the last decade. I don't know.
T.J. Watt has literally done that like 3 times, but okay, bro.
Blocked a kick, recovered a fumble for a touchdown, and gotten a sack.
Yeah. T.J. Watt did that against the Browns in week 2.
I think you're just making stuff up.
No, he didn't block the kick.
He didn't block the kick. Okay. So that's a pretty key part of the equation there. But Myles Garrett has been playing out of his mind. I think I think T.J. Watt may end the year with better stats, but I think Myles Garrett is proving himself to be a more dominant overall player. So I'm going to pick Myles Garrett for D-Boy this year.
Yeah, Rohan, I'm really agreeing with you today. I think Myles Garrett is my decoy pick. I think it's about damn time for him to win the award. He's been elite for too long, and this year he's really put it all together. That Browns defense has been elite this year. Yeah, one of the best defenses in the league. However, I will say my dark horse decoy candidate based on his current trajectory, number 5, Kayvon Thibodeau. 8.5 sacks on the season already. That's 8.5 sacks on the season already. He's really been great this year. I'm not gonna lie, he's starting to really emerge. Depending on how these next couple of games go, I could see him getting up to 14, 16 sacks this season. Another dark horse pick. This is showing up. This some may call this Giants bias, but Dexter Lawrence has been insane this year. Unfortunately, a nose tackle not named Aaron Donald probably won't win the award, but Sexy Dexy has been elite. I think he has the most hurries and the most pressures in the league right now, at least for a nose tackle, and he's an elite force on the defensive line.
All right, well, if you truly believe that, Corey, I strongly encourage you to place a bet, because the Kayvon Thibodeau odds right now are plus 13,000.
You can make yourself. You can make a bank.
A $1 bet will win you $130.
Yeah.
I might put some money down, low key, just a little bit. Keep that on the low, though. I'm not legally allowed to gamble. I forgot
you actually gamble, Corey. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself.
Were their record any better, I would be tempted to say a guy like Max Crosby. Watching him last week against the Saints,
he was playing angry.
Was almost, people say defensive games aren't fun to watch. I was going crazy every time the defense took the field for the Raiders because I knew what I was about to see. One guy absolutely imposing his will on the game. If the record were better and if his defense was moving something, if it was moving the needle for me on the Raiders, I would say Max Crosby because the eye test tells you everything you need to know about how that guy's playing this year. I want to say, though, for my pick, I'll lock it in, Micah Parsons. The Cowboys defense, he has been a leader of that unit now for enough time in the NFL. He's still so young. but there is not one player on defensive lines in the entire NFL who strikes more fear into the heart of opposing quarterbacks than Micah Parsons, because he can get anywhere faster than you expect him. He's bigger than you think he is, and he can actually score the ball on defense reliably, which is what the Cowboys have been doing multiple times so far this season, which is super rare as someone who also owns the Dallas defense in one of my fantasy leagues. It's been a beautiful thing.
Micah Parsons truly is scary. I'm not going to lie. He really is.
TJ's fine. I'm not dissing TJ.
I don't hate the Myles Garrett pick. I don't hate the Myles Garrett pick.
I mean, I think they're both very realistic picks, and they're both above right now. They're both above TJ Watt and odds. But moving on then to Offensive Rookie of the Year. Few good picks here, I think. I think this race is closer than people expect. I mean, for a second, it looked like C.J. Stroud could be the guy who does it. I still think I think he's still favored right now, but that's not who I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick a guy who I don't know why there isn't more weight going towards him. There isn't more people talking about him. Puka Nacua. I mean, I don't know why. It seems like he's sort of fallen out of this conversation for some reason because Cooper Kupp's come back. The reality is he still leads all rookies in receptions and receiving yards. I mean, he's done more than I think any other offensive weapon has, statistically speaking. He kept this Rams offense afloat for while Cooper Kupp was gone, and he still put up decent numbers when Cooper Kupp is there. He still had a few good games. I know he had that 7-catch, I think 120-yard game while Kupp was back. I think he'll still have those throughout the year. If he's still the best receiver at the end of the year, I don't see how you don't give him this award. It's really disappointing because I think if Jordan Addison, if Zay Flowers, if Jackson Smith-Njigba was putting up these numbers, I think they would be in this conversation. But I think the fact that Nacua is not the sexiest receiver because of the way he plays, he's more of a find the soft spot and coverage and get the ball kind of guy. And the fact that he's a 5th-round pick is sort of pushing him down the board for some reason. In reality, I think this should be him. C.J. Stroud's great. He's going to be a good quarterback in the future, but he has those games like he had last week. And I don't think, if he has more of those games throughout the year, I think that's got to put a dent in his case for Olroy. So therefore, I'll pick Puka Nacua for this award. I think it should be him.
You guys want to go, and then I'll end it.
You guys go first.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
You guys go first.
It's not registering. It's not coming through.
Can you guys hear me?
I think we're having some audio issues.
Wait, can you hear me?
Okay, 1 sec.
Wait, hold on. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, there we go. Okay, you guys go. You guys make your pick, and then Arjun will do his.
For me, I have to disagree with you, Rohan. As much as I do love Puka Nacua, and I just have to say, first off, I have to preface this by saying my original pick is unfortunately out for the season. Anthony Richardson was going to win this award.
Yeah, agreed.
This was Anthony Richardson's award. He was playing elite football up until getting injured, and unfortunately he's out for the season. But that is what it is. Right now, though, my pick is very easily C.J. Stroud, who was my favorite quarterback coming out of the draft. I really love C.J. Stroud a lot more than Bryce Young, simply because of what Stroud brings to a team with his pocket passing ability and his ability to really stand in the pocket. And the other thing is Bryce Young is short, and people are going to continue to underestimate how important that is in the NFL. But Bryce Young being short is not good. It's really not good for NFL teams.
There's nothing wrong with him.
He'll be okay. He'll be okay. But it's like the Kyler Murray issue.
It's not an issue. Kyler Murray is elite.
Kyler Murray
really
can't throw to the. Kyler Murray cannot throw to the middle of the field, but that's a story for another time. Right now, I do think C.J. Stroud is that guy. He's really been a top 15 quarterback in the league already in his first freshman season. I really am impressed with him this year, and of course, as much as I do love Puka Nacua, this is a quarterback's award to win. That's just how the league has always been. I think C.J. Stroud will take this award pretty easily.
Hey, wait, question. Maybe we're asking the same question. Is C.J. Stroud better than Daniel Jones?
Yes. C.J. Stroud is better than Daniel Jones. Yes.
I think so, too.
If C.J. Stroud was in Daniel Jones' position this year, he would have provided.
I mean, you could say arguably he's in a worse position. The Texans actually have a lot less going on for them outside of their quarterback play. Whereas it feels like the Giants, if you swap a lot of guys into that machine, it might work better than it does presently. For my offensive rookie of the year pick, I would have loved to tell you it could be a guy like Bijan Robinson, but the Falcons are on fuckery this year. I would have loved
Arthur Smith, fantasy football terrorist, because what does he do? Tyler Algier has more carries this year than Bijan Robinson does.
I would have loved to tell you it could have been a guy like Bijan Robinson, because I think his ceiling is Adrian Peterson level. I think that guy can be a world beater.
For sure.
But honestly, I think at this point it's hard to say that it was anyone aside from Puka Nacua. C.J. Stroud is doing amazing things, but he's lost a lot. And while the losses haven't always been on him, he's showing that he's having a good rookie quarterback year in a way that I feel like a guy like Puka Nacua has come into the league. And even though Kupp is back, he's still having monstrous games. He's still putting points on the board for fantasy owners, and he's still really contributing to getting up the field, moving the chains, and getting off the field.
And
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's at historic levels, too. I mean, you saw all those stats about his reception numbers through the first few games. I mean, he's performing at a historic level. I think that shouldn't go unnoticed just because, he's a fifth round pick. He's still doing historic things right now.
Somehow that counts against him, even though it should be, I think, bolstering his case for a guy who was really overlooked coming out of college at the receiver position.
One thing I do have to say before we continue, just the topic of Bijan Robinson just makes me think back to hashtag free Kyle Pitts. Please free Kyle Pitts.
Oh my God, Drake
Please.
London, Bijan Robinson, Kyle
Free
Pitts.
him.
We feel for you, Falcons fans.
I'm sending hearts.
Falcons fans, you guys could be so good, but
Kyle Pitts.
Hey, watch out for the Falcons next year when they get Kirk Cousins. That team's gonna be dangerous.
Oh my God!
Oh my God! 35-year-old Kirk.
Still taking Tom Brady out of the venture capital.
Desmond Ritter got benched earlier today.
Oh, thank God.
But
it doesn't matter because Arthur Smith is still the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. It does not matter. He let Desmond Ritter be a football terrorist for 8 games of the season to finally decide to make a change.
Did he have 7 turnovers in 8 quarters?
Yes. 8 on the season. I think he has 6 fumbles and 7 interceptions. That is sophomore year Daniel Jones numbers.
He's a generational ball turner over.
He is. He's up there with Daniel Jones in the under the Dave Gettleman regime. Like that's an era I don't even want to talk about anymore. Let's move on. Let's
What's your
really quickly
for offensive player of the year or offensive rookie?
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Corey. It's C.J. Stroud for me. He played with like 4 backups in the offensive line, and he's made the Texans relevant along with DeMeco Ryans. One thing with Puka is I think Matt Stafford's gonna be injured. Even if he plays, don't expect that passing offense to continue it, so I'm not sure if Puka's going to be able to keep up his pace. My offensive rookie of the year in my heart is Sam Laporta. He will never win because he's a tight end, but that man has unlocked the Lions' offense and is their secret weapon, their secret sauce to why they've been so good this year. But unfortunately, the man will never win, but he's my offensive rookie of the year in my heart.
I love that pick, and I love the Lions this year.
Yeah. All right, let's move on finally to defensive rookie of the year. I already know Corey's about to say Deontay Banks. So
I'm not gonna lie, I've never heard of Deontay. I've never heard of Deontay Banks until last night. I've never heard of the man until last night.
I'll go quickly. Jalen Carter. He might be injured, but I'm gonna change mine. Devin Witherspoon.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Devin Witherspoon's gonna be. He's been playing. He really fucked up the Giants. Actually, that was his breakout game. I forgot about that.
No. It was. It definitely was.
And he's going to keep that up. I think he's going to be Defensive Rookie of the Year, especially if Jalen Carter's injured. Sucks for Christian Gonzalez, too, also injured, having a great start to the season. But I think Witherspoon is going to take this by the end of the year.
Yeah, I think if Gonzalez was still playing, he didn't get hurt, I think I'd pick him as Rookie of the Year at this point. But I'll go with Witherspoon as well. He's electric, Legion of Boom-esque. Mm-hmm. I think he's playing at a high level, and he's really making the Seahawks defense play better. I saw one thing that put him already top 5 in terms of current cornerbacks in general. I don't know if he's at that level yet, but the fact that he's getting that sort of hype, I think, shows just how good he's been. Are your guys' picks both Deontay Banks?
I have a case for this, though. I'll let Corey go.
Okay, for me, the reason why I choose... Okay, to me, this is a race between Deonte Banks and Devin Witherspoon. This is a two-headed race between two great cornerbacks. But the thing that I think is being understated is the fact that the only reason Devin Witherspoon is really being valued higher right now than Deonte Banks is because the Seahawks are winning games. If the Giants were winning games, Deonte Banks would be just as high up on people's boards as Devin Witherspoon. I think both are really good cornerbacks. I just personally, from what I've watched this year, and I've watched a good amount of Seahawks games because some of my friends are Seahawks fans, and I just like to talk shit to them. But I've seen a lot of really good play from Devin Witherspoon, and I've seen a lot of great play from Deonte Banks. Both have played phenomenal this year. I just lean a little more towards Banks because of his ability to really shut down big-name receivers rather than be a ball hawk, which is, I think, a little bit more of what Devin Witherspoon is great at. He's really a great ball hawk. He's kind of like a new version of Trayvon Diggs, you might say. While Deonte Banks, to me, I'm getting shades of Darrelle Revis. I'm getting shades of lockdown corner number one. I'm getting shades of Patriot Stephon Gilmore. That's what I'm getting from Deonte Banks.
I'll back that up. I think heading into last week's matchup against the Jets, Deonte Banks is leading all rookie cornerbacks in receptions per target, the fewest receptions per target, fewest catches. And then also yards after catch, he's averaging, I think, something like 2.4, 2.6 yards after catch, also leading all rookie cornerbacks. So stat-wise, I think the numbers tell you the picture, but also the eye test. This guy's all over receivers like white on rice. He is literally stuck to these guys, and his timing also is immaculate. His body control. And as a rookie, these kinds of things like timing and body control are the absolute most difficult to coach, and they take a lifetime to get right in the NFL. Granted, a lifetime at this position really looks like 7 or 8 years. I think he can be phenomenal at this for a very long time, and I think that he's easily my Defensive Rookie of the Year.
I think building off of that, another thing that we have to really take into consideration when looking at this race is the talent of receiver that they've played against. As we've said, the Giants have by far had the hardest schedule in the league. Deonte Banks has week in and week out win against number one receivers in the league. A.J. Brown, he's about to go up against A.J. Brown soon enough, and that is a matchup I'm honestly terrified of. But he went up against Stephon Diggs. He played pretty damn well against Stephon Diggs for Stephon Diggs to be a top five wide receiver in the league. Played damn well against Garrett Wilson. He's done a great job this year, I will say. Yeah.
Hey, I mean, if he's really Darrelle Revis incarnate, maybe the future is bright for Wink Martindale's defense there. But we'll see about the Giants. But that's about it for today's show. I think Rohan and I can both agree we're rooting for the Giants this weekend against the Raiders, who not only don't have a coach, they don't have an offense coordinator, and they have a new quarterback too. So this is really the perfect opportunity for the Giants to get right.
I'm a Devontae owner though, so I would like some. I guess he might get locked up by Deonte Banks. So, so I'm in trouble.
That's what I'm saying.
If we lose, I honestly don't know
any last words you guys would like to say on behalf of the Giants to the Giants fan base and to anyone watching on the turf right now?
Shout out to everybody who tuned into On the Turf. These guys are amazing at hosting this show, and they're consummate professionals at hosting this podcast.
We paid them to say that.
I will leave you guys with one thing. The glory days of the Giants seem like they're far behind us, but they're not. Our franchise has won in our lifetime, and he and I, we know what it looks like. We've seen it. We've seen two with our own two eyes, so we know what it looks like to win at MetLife and parade in New York City, and I don't think we're so far off as all these other teams and all these other pundits and people around the league are saying. The future is bright in New York. Even though we're looking at a down year this year, I think there's a lot to remain optimistic about.
I will say thank you very much for having us on the turf. It's been an absolute pleasure. To Giants fans out there, I'm going to let you guys know, similar to what A.J. said, the days of the Giants are coming back. When you look at it, those Giants teams, what were they really known for? Elite defense. elite defense. And right now, the Giants have all the makings of an elite defense. It's just about putting the right pieces together, putting the right pieces in play for the offense, and getting things back on track with Daniel Jones. But I think once Daniel Jones gets back on track, he has great potential to be a premier quarterback in our league.
Good opportunity for the Giants this week. Good opportunity for all of us to watch a lot of good games. It seems Week 9 is one of the best schedules yet. Let's hope it doesn't disappoint. Please check out our Instagram for power rankings, picks, and episodes like this. We'll be back in the show next week, hopefully with Shri as well, and we'll have the opportunity to talk about our midseason playoff predictions, something I really look forward to every year. But yeah, my name is Arjun and Rohan.
And I'm Rohan Patel.
I'm Corey Madison.
I'm A.J. Shpetner.
And we'll see you next week on the turf.